Congressman Brian Babin right now, the Texas Republican U.S. Air Force captain, retired, a father, a Navy SEAL himself, well steeped in incredible service to this country. Congressman, it looks like we are leaving next Tuesday regardless. I could be wrong. I am understanding that there are extenuating circumstances that could keep us there longer, but it seems highly doubtful that we would stay longer. That worries you, right?
That worries me immensely, and I hope that is not the case. First off, let me just say our prayers are very deeply and profound for the families of these deceased and KIA individuals and the Marines and Navy corpsmen, and for the families of those wounded. But nevertheless, what we have here is just a string of terrible judgment and decisions that just have left the door open for further failure. I mean, we've had a string of decisions like the arbitrary evacuation date itself that you just talked about, the August 31st. We cannot let the Taliban make that decision for us. And then the decision to give up Bagram Air Base to the Taliban, that's incredible. 2 runways, easily defendable, isolated. And here we are stuck in Kabul, evacuating our troops before American citizens were evacuated. It's just incredible that was done. Depending on the Taliban for our security, amazing that we would be dependent on a terrorist group, and then giving them a list of our people, our allies' names, green card holders, and American citizens that are trying to get out. I mean, that's a death sentence, especially for these Afghan allies. And then leaving, worst of all, I think, is leaving $85 billion worth of equipment there. What to do now, Neil? We've got to go on the offensive. I think we retake Bagram. We started, and we pay no attention to this deadline. Any resistance, I think we need to meet with force. And we've got to reacquire or destroy every bit of that usable equipment that we left in the country. Our biggest priority now is to get Americans out of Afghanistan. Deadline be damned. We cannot be held to that deadline whatsoever.
You're an impressive gentleman, Congressman, but I don't think any of that's going to happen. I know how passionately and strongly you feel about that, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And it also looks likely that at least some Americans are going to be left behind. And a good many of our Afghan friends, and even though the administration touts the fact that more than 100,000 have gotten out of the country since the Taliban took over the country, tens of thousands more won't be so lucky. What do you think of that?
I am so very, very disappointed to even hear this. And I actually am calling, what you just said, it looks like it's going to happen irregardless of what we Republicans think. But this is why I think we need leadership change. I think that this president is hopeless as a commander-in-chief. He's totally incompetent. He's totally incapable. He doesn't listen. I think he needs to resign immediately. I think he ought to be removed using the 25th Amendment. Even some Democrats have even talked about that, or even an impeachment. I don't think America can any longer afford to be subjected to the incompetence.
Would you feel more comfortable then, sir, with a Kamala Harris?
No, I would not. But I can tell you that she is unproven, except on the border. She's been totally incompetent on the border. But this president, Joe Biden, has been incompetent for 40 years. I think everything he has done on a foreign policy basis, I mean, even former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates under Obama said he holds the record for being wrong the most times throughout a 4-decade period. So I think he needs to go. I really do. I think the Democrats should see that this is a total disaster for America's standing in the world, for going forth. We're slipping. We're slipping out of first place fast, and we're reestablishing the Taliban back to 20 years ago, and we're leaving our friends in the lurch. And one of the most damaging things is our allies don't trust us and think we're treacherous, and our enemies think that we're weak. And that is a bad situation. We cannot tolerate that.
Again, it looks very likely that the president is going to stay in office. I know there's been a push to impeach him or force some accountability, but it doesn't look like they're the numbers to do that for the time being. So what do you envision for this Biden presidency?
I envision that unless we have some Democrats that finally come awake and say that this country is probably in greater jeopardy now than it has been in many, maybe even a couple of centuries, that we're going to have to wait until we get to the midterms next year. And then, that's not a pleasant thought, because so much damage. Look what we've gotten in the first 8 months of this presidency, Neil. We've got crisis after crisis on the border, the economy, energy, you name it. And now in the Middle East, I don't know how much more damage this guy can do. He doesn't listen to his own people, and he may be listening to some of the wrong people. That's what's happening, and I don't know if this country can survive intact as what the proud nation, the greatest country in the history of this planet, with this type of leadership. And if the Democrats don't wake up, I can tell you that the Republicans certainly are wide awake. And I know that the American people, I can't tell you, my phone, my emails, texts, everything, they're reaching out of constituents very concerned about, and especially veterans. They cannot even fathom what is happening. I was in the Air Force back at the fall of Saigon. And, that pales to insignificance when you look at this thing. This is the biggest hostage situation, I think, in the history of our country. And, yesterday they celebrated Women's Equity Day yesterday on this horrible, horrible day. And it's just in Congress, it's ridiculous when you think about it. We have got to save this great republic of ours, Neil.
All right, Congressman.
Yes, sir.
I can feel that passion from here. Be well. Let's see how these next few days go in Afghanistan. Brian Babin, the Texas Republican, former retired Air Force captain, father of a Navy SEAL himself, echoing a view of a large swath of folks who feel that the president has botched it and maybe permanently botched our relations, not only in that part of the world, but across the world. It's still early. A lot could still happen, but that's the worry.